She smiled as she warmed up the leftover rice from last night, her toddler playing nearby. It was just a quick lunch, something simple before his nap. But within hours, he was vomiting, his skin pale, his little body shivering. At the ER, doctors asked one unexpected question: did he eat reheated rice? She blinked. Just rice. Why? The answer crushed her. What she thought was harmless had become toxic. The bacteria hiding inside that warm bowl had quietly attacked his tiny system. And here's the terrifying truth: this isn't a rare story. Every day, across thousands of homes, parents, students, and working professionals reheat foods that seem innocent, but are silently dangerous. What if the food you're saving today is putting your future at risk? What if your everyday habit is building up something far worse than calories? This story is real, and you might be living it without even knowing. She had always believed in healthy eating. Fresh veggies, fruits, and home-cooked meals were part of her daily routine. That morning, she gently reheated a spinach dish from the night before, confident it would give her the strength she needed at work. But by afternoon, her head spun, her heart raced, and she could barely focus. Tests came back normal, yet something inside her had clearly gone wrong. What she didn't know was that the healthy spinach she trusted had turned into a silent enemy. Reheating it had triggered a chemical reaction she never saw coming. This isn't just her story, it's a reality many people unknowingly face every single day. Some foods, when reheated, don't nourish your body. They break it down slowly, quietly, dangerously. And you won't know until it's too late. If you think healthy food can't harm you, this next part will change your mind. First, reheated rice.
The silent bacterial killer.
She sat beside his hospital bed, her hands trembling as the monitors beeped softly. The doctors told her the reheated rice she had served just hours ago had allowed dangerous bacteria, Bacillus cereus, to grow. It wasn't spoiled. It wasn't rotten. But it was deadly. When cooked rice is left at room temperature for even a few hours, spores begin to multiply. Reheating it in the microwave doesn't destroy them. In fact, it can activate toxins that silently attack the body. She had no idea something so normal could turn into a silent killer. But now her son was fighting for his life. Microwaves heat unevenly. Some parts of the rice get hot, while others stay cool, letting bacteria survive.
The scariest part. It smells fine.
It looks fine. It even tastes fine. But it's hiding a danger you can't see. Her child's symptoms started with nausea and vomiting but quickly turned into dehydration, dizziness, and weakness. Doctors said the toxins had disrupted his nervous system. And this isn't rare. In Belgium, a 20-year-old student died after eating reheated rice left out overnight. He thought it was just leftovers. He didn't survive the night. These tragedies happen quietly, without warning, in homes like yours. Why is rice so risky? Because it's full of moisture and starch, perfect for bacterial growth. If it sits out for too long, it becomes a breeding ground. And once contaminated, no amount of reheating will make it safe again. That's why food safety experts recommend cooling rice quickly and storing it in the fridge within 1 hour. If you need to reheat it, do it once, thoroughly, and make sure the internal temperature reaches at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit. She learned this lesson through pain, regret, and fear.
Don't let her story repeat in your home.
What feels like a small act of saving time or food can turn into something irreversible.
Some dangers in life shout. Others whisper.
Reheated rice does neither.
It just waits.
Second, reheated spinach. Nitrate to carcinogen. She woke up early, determined to stay healthy, to make good choices. Spinach had always been part of her morning routine, steamed, seasoned, and rich in iron. The night before, she had cooked extra for lunch. Today, she simply reheated it, just like always. But by late afternoon, her head felt heavy, her vision blurry, her heartbeat fast and uneven. She assumed it was stress. It wasn't. The spinach she reheated had silently turned against her. Scientists say leafy greens like spinach, when reheated, convert their natural nitrates into nitrosamines, dangerous compounds linked to cancer. She didn't taste any difference. She didn't smell anything odd. But inside her body, those molecules had already begun to work. It's a chemical transformation most people don't know about. Nitrates are natural and even healthy in raw form. But once exposed to heat a second time, they become unstable, reacting with stomach acids and cellular structures in dangerous ways. Especially for children, infants, and pregnant women, reheated spinach can trigger low oxygen levels in the blood, a condition called methemoglobinemia, or blue baby syndrome. In older adults, long-term exposure increases the risk of stomach and colon cancers.
And yet no warning label come sweet leftovers.
She had read articles about processed meats and preservatives, but never about vegetables. That's what made it so terrifying.
You trust greens. You believe they protect you.
You never imagined they could turn into poison on a second boil. One study published in the International Journal of Epidemiology showed a strong link between high nitrate intake and increased cancer risk in adults over 40. The twist: most of that nitrate exposure came from vegetables, particularly spinach, that had been cooked, cooled, and reheated. She thought she was doing everything right, eating clean,
Staying light.
but her mistake was hidden in the microwave. So how do you stay safe? Eat spinach fresh, or store it properly and eat it cold as a salad.
Never reheat it again.
What fuels your strength today shouldn't become your weakness tomorrow. She never imagined that something so green, so pure, could carry so much danger. But that's how food works sometimes. Not with noise, not with signs, but with silent, irreversible change. Third, reheated potatoes.
The Dementia trigger.
She sat at her desk, trying to focus, but her thoughts felt scattered. Just yesterday, she had forgotten her manager's name mid-conversation. It wasn't like her. She was sharp, organized, always ahead. But lately, something felt off, her energy low, her memory slipping. That morning, she'd packed a quick lunch from leftovers, reheated potatoes with grilled chicken.
Nothing fancy. Nothing unusual.
But what she didn't know was that those reheated potatoes might be doing more harm than good. Potatoes, when cooked and left to cool improperly, can develop Clostridium botulinum, a bacteria that thrives in low-oxygen environments like foil-wrapped spuds or sealed containers. Microwaving doesn't always kill it. Worse, reheated starches break down into compounds that, over time, have been linked to neurological damage and cognitive decline. Studies have found that when starchy foods like potatoes are reheated multiple times, they produce acrylamides, chemical compounds formed during high-temperature cooking and reheating. These compounds have been associated with oxidative stress in the brain, a known factor in memory loss and early dementia. She remembered reading about fast food and processed snacks being dangerous, but boiled potatoes? That seemed harmless. Until it wasn't. Her forgetfulness wasn't random. It was building slowly, day by day, meal by meal. And the worst part? She had no idea. Potatoes are rich in starch, which is a good energy source. But when that starch sits out and then gets reheated, it can ferment internally and produce toxins. In some extreme cases, reheated potatoes have caused foodborne illnesses so severe that people experienced temporary paralysis and respiratory distress. She felt betrayed by something so basic, so common, something she'd trusted her whole life. But now she knew. Safe food isn't just about cleanliness. It's about timing, science, and awareness. To avoid these risks, potatoes should be cooled quickly after cooking and stored in shallow containers. When reheating, ensure the temperature hits at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit all the way through. Never reheat foil-wrapped baked potatoes. And never reheat them more than once. Her brain wasn't failing her. Her habits were. What started as fatigue had become forgetfulness. And what she believed was fuel had quietly become fog. Sometimes, memory loss isn't about age. It's about what's on your plate. Fourth, reheated chicken, protein breakdown toxic. She loved planning ahead, meal prepping on Sundays, stacking containers in the fridge, feeling proud of her discipline. Chicken was always her go-to protein, lean, healthy, satisfying. That Wednesday, she grabbed a box, popped it in the microwave, and rushed through lunch between meetings. But just hours later, her stomach churned, her body weak, her chest tight. It started slowly, just discomfort, but by evening, she was in urgent care, barely able to move. The doctors asked her what she had eaten, and when she said reheated chicken, they nodded knowingly. Unlike vegetables or grains, chicken contains complex proteins that change structure when cooked. But when it's reheated, especially unevenly, those proteins break down into harmful compounds that disrupt digestion and cellular balance. Her body wasn't rejecting food, it was reacting to something unnatural. Microwaves often heat food unevenly. The outer parts may feel hot, but the center stays cool, perfect for bacterial survival. Chicken also spoils faster than most meats. If it wasn't stored at the right temperature, even briefly, bacteria like Salmonella or Campylobacter could multiply rapidly. And when proteins break down under repeated heat, they can become difficult to digest, leading to bloating, fatigue, and even long-term gut inflammation. In one report, a young woman collapsed at work after eating reheated chicken curry that had sat in the office fridge all night. The cause? Bacterial overgrowth combined with protein degradation. She realized then that it wasn't just about taste or smell, it was about what she couldn't see, and what she couldn't feel until it was too late. Experts warn that reheated chicken should always be heated evenly, thoroughly, and only once. Use a thermometer to check for 165 degrees Fahrenheit inside. And never reheat from cold without letting it rest at room temperature for a few minutes. Her body was trying to keep up with her ambition, but her habits were working against her. What she thought was a smart, time-saving choice had quietly become a health risk. She trusted the food.
She trusted the microwave.
But now, she knew better. Sometimes, the strongest meat on your plate can become the weakest point in your health, if you give it the wrong kind of heat. Fifth, reheated mushrooms, brain fog, and gut imbalance. She stared at the screen, blinking rapidly, unable to form a clear thought. Her head felt heavy, her focus shattered, like something had hijacked her brain. Just hours earlier, she had eaten her favorite leftover pasta loaded with mushrooms. It wasn't the first time. But today felt different. Her stomach cramped, her thoughts scattered, and her body responded with unusual weakness. The nurse who examined her asked one strange question: "Did you reheat mushrooms?" She paused. "Yes. Why?" The answer was unsettling. Unlike most vegetables, mushrooms contain delicate proteins and amino acids that break down rapidly after cooking. When reheated, especially the next day, they produce compounds that are hard to digest and can irritate the gut lining. Worse, these compounds can affect neurotransmitter balance, leading to brain fog, headaches, and short-term memory disruption. Her condition wasn't a coincidence. It was chemistry. Mushrooms are rich in natural antioxidants and enzymes, but when those are heated more than once, they lose their protective nature and sometimes convert into toxic substances. She had always trusted her body to tell her when something was wrong, but this time, it hadn't spoken loud enough. She didn't feel sick at first. She just felt off. That's what made it dangerous. In a 2021 study, researchers noted that reheated mushrooms, especially when stored improperly, could cause digestive inflammation and neurological symptoms in sensitive individuals. The risk was even higher when mushrooms were cooked in cream-based sauces or reheated in plastic containers. The toxins weren't deadly, but they were disruptive. Enough to affect her productivity, her clarity, her well-being. She thought she was being efficient,
Saving time.
avoiding waste. But in reality, she was slowly poisoning her focus. Food safety isn't just about what you avoid, it's also about what you repeat. Experts advise eating mushrooms fresh, or storing them in airtight glass containers and consuming them cold or within 24 hours. Never reheat them twice. She looked back at her lunchbox and felt a wave of regret. What had seemed like a harmless habit had quietly impacted her mind. In her search for balance and health, she had overlooked one crucial detail. Sometimes, the smallest foods carry the biggest consequences, especially when they return to your plate a second time. She thought mixing her leftovers into one dish was smart. Less waste, less time, more flavor. But as she stirred rice, spinach, and mushrooms into a quick bowl, she had no idea she was blending more than just taste. She was combining risks. When you reheat multiple foods together, especially the ones prone to bacteria or chemical changes, you don't just double the danger.
You multiply it.
Each food carries its own vulnerabilities. Reheated rice may contain heat-resistant toxins. Spinach might convert into carcinogenic compounds. Mushrooms can break down into gut-irritating substances. And when they're all reheated at once, especially unevenly, the body has to battle multiple threats at once. She didn't feel sick right away, but bloating, dizziness, and confusion crept in by the evening. Her body wasn't processing one toxin. It was fighting several. Experts say never reheat meals more than once. Always cool cooked food within 1 hour and store it in shallow glass containers. Plastic containers may leach harmful chemicals when reheated, especially with acidic or oily foods. Use a food thermometer to ensure every part of your meal reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And don't rely on sight or smell. Some of the most dangerous compounds are completely invisible and odorless. She had always seen food as comfort, a shortcut, a reward after a long day. But now she saw it differently. Not with fear, but with caution. Because safety isn't about avoiding leftovers. It's about how you treat them. One poor habit repeated daily is more dangerous than one bad meal. In the end, the difference between safe and risky isn't the food, it's what you do with it after you're done eating. She never looked at leftovers the same way again. What once felt like a shortcut had nearly cost her the people she loved, and pieces of herself. Every beep of the microwave now echoed with memory, warning, and awareness. She had learned that danger doesn't always wear a warning sign. Sometimes it looks like warm comfort in a familiar bowl. The smallest habits, repeated blindly, can become the quietest threats. It wasn't fear she carried, it was responsibility. The responsibility to protect her family not just from the world outside, but from the silent risks sitting in her own kitchen. She realized that survival isn't just about what we eat, it's about what we assume is safe. Now, every meal she prepared held intention, care, and knowledge. And if her story reaches even one listener before they press that reheat button again, maybe her pain would serve a purpose. Maybe it could save a life before it's too late.